It is 53-man roster cutdown day for the 49ers. Who's staying? Who's going? Steph and I will give you predictions. Steve Young had a lot of crazy things to say, and we'll talk about that and a lot more right after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That is Steph Sanchez. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Man, today's a big day, Steph, but before we get into all that, how are the vibes? How are you?
The vibes are good on my end. If you guys see this pimple under my nose, it's a paid actor. Ignore it, please.
A paid actor is
But
crazy.
besides that, I'm doing great. And yeah, this is a big day to kind of seeing what this team is really going to be looking like this year. So let's get into it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about our 53-man roster predictions. Obviously, there's some things that have come out, but that'll be towards the end of the show. But I did want to read the super chat that is there because we already have our first wave of cuts, I think, and our first little bit of talking about who's going to be here. The Big 25, thank you for the donation. Such BS that Tanner Mordecai got cut instead of Allen, afraid he'll get claimed by someone else before being placed on practice squad. Why does Kyle like Allen so much? And I think this is a good place to start, even though we're not going to get into the 53-man roster thing. It's like a lot of my predictions aren't necessarily what I would do. It's what I think they're going to do. You've got to put yourself in Kyle's mind, right? Like it's not, for me, and, I like to make this joke. If I was a general manager and I was stacking a team, I would just have all the best players in the world, and I would simply never lose a game. I would score touchdowns on every single play. Really, like you just simplify it. But this one is, he just likes his mind and the fact that he can be reliable if he's ever put into a pinch. And I think they value that more than they do whatever they think the upside of Tanner Mordecai is. What do you think, Steph?
I would ask this question. Why does Kyle like Allen so much? Why do fans like Tanner Mordecai so much? Like I get that like, dude, he was an undrafted free agent. And I spoke about this on my show yesterday. I was like, dude, I feel like since the emergence of Brock Purdy, everyone is so obsessed with finding the next Brock Purdy, including 49er fans. We still have Brock Purdy on this team. He is your franchise quarterback. Who cares about Tanner Mordecai? Quite frankly, who cares about Dobbs and Brandon Allen? Whoa. I don't even care about the backup anymore. Like, because again, we've been conditioned to think like the 49ers need to have the best backup in the league because our quarterback is going to get hurt this year. No, you have your guy. I think the 49ers have good options for their backup quarterback. Beyond that, it's not important. So right. I don't see the uproar about Tanner Mordecai getting cut. He is going to end up on the practice squad because, Jay, did you see all the other quarterbacks who have gotten cut so far? I mean, hey, CJ Beathard's out there. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe we can see a reunion there. I don't know. But I'm just saying, I'm sure the fact that the 49ers kind of seeing the lay of the land, they're seeing other teams cut their quarterbacks are probably like, okay, we feel good about cutting Mordecai, and we feel confident that he's going to be able to come back to our practice squad. And by the way, that's probably a reason that where's El Manning? That's probably the reason that the 49ers wait so long to announce their 53 cuts too, because I think they try to survey the rest of the league and kind of see what they're doing to see, I guess, who has a better chance of making it to their practice squad.
Yeah, and again, most people, most teams don't care about their backup quarterback because the idea is to not get your quarterback hurt. And any backup quarterback is unlikely. All right. I can't wait for everybody to just be like, Nick Foles. All right. 1. Tom Brady. Oh, okay. You mean the GOAT. 2. For the most part, backups are backups and they shouldn't be playing regardless. So backup quarterback is something that 49er fans obsess over because of the PTSD that they have with quarterbacks. Ideally, you don't want your backup playing ever at all. Not one snap. You want your starting quarterback to play every single snap. And you also don't want to know these names on the back end because for the most part, you're not going to feel good about it. Like Denver cut Jarrett Stidham, right? And I believe Zach Wilson is the backup. That's gross. Who cares if Bo Nix gets hurt, right? But they're not competing for a Super Bowl. It's that part, right? Any team that loses their quarterback is likely done. Kansas City loses Patrick Mahomes. Carson Wentz is not going to save them. So for the most part, backup quarterbacks just are who they are. But as usual, we have to put an emphasis on that because of the history with the 49ers. Speaking of history, perfect segue. Steve Young is a pretty good quarterback, right? I would say,
good.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good.
Steve Young goes on the Tolbert and Copes show. Copes is funny too, like the name, like Cope. On KMBR yesterday, because they have a Steve Young hour. And Steve Young is giving off heavy Clint Eastwood, Gran Torino, get off my lawn vibes with these takes.
Boomer vibes, dare I say?
Brandon Ayuk isn't safe. Trent Williams is not safe. Brandon Ayuk's agent isn't safe. He's even catching them. But let's get into some of these clips. Rob's got him up.
Nick Bosa was going to set the market. Trent's going to set the market. You kind of get it in a way. It's a bummer. Like, I wish that Trent would have done this earlier, or the 49ers, and I get all that. But Brandon, because of his youth and because he's not going to set the market, yet wants to set the market, says, I want to be traded. And then goes through this, I don't know how to put it, but it was like, bro, like, if you want to tear up the contract and do something big, then you might want to pick, you might want to go the 5th year and go prove it out, like, to make sure that everybody's on board with you setting the market. Or if you're going to ask to be traded, then when they make a trade that works for them, you got to say you're up for it. You don't say, oh, no, that doesn't work for me. Because then it was like, well, what do you want? And so there's been a back and forth that's been very, I don't know. They can get it mended. It's not like they're like broken relationships, but it's stretched. It's strained. And I think at the end of the day, Brandon's now sitting in front of a contract that's probably 49ers have stretched as much as they possibly can. They don't want to set the market. They don't want to do it. They don't think it's the time.
Well, first of all, this is very much shit or get off the pot is what Steve Young is talking about, right? Because you have the contract in front of you. You don't want to sign it. You've had trades in places and you don't want to go. And he's even saying, like, well, then if you really want to prove it, then bet on yourself and go one more time. But when Steve has 2 of these comments that start with bro, like, he's fed up. He's like,
never heard him say bro before.
He says it twice. When we get to the Trent Williams clip, you're going to hear it. He's like, bro, you want to tear up the I'm like, okay, Steve, let's settle down, my friend. Like, no one has really, like, done anything to you. Everything's going to be fine. But my goodness, man, he was like, you could hear it in his voice that he's over the situation. I think that's a lot of 49er fans' sentiment at this point, especially on August 27th.
Oh, we've been over it, and I'm over it to the point where I'm not even angry about it anymore. It's
I don't
just
care
like,
anymore.
dude, can we?
It's
like, I don't even care, man. Like, let's just, like, at this point, it's August 27th, right? Like, I'm ready for the 49ers to go into the season without Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams in week 1. I hate that. I hate it, but like, I am emotionally, mentally preparing myself for that to be the outcome. So yeah, I mean, I think Steve, he hit it on the head. It did give some boomer vibes a little bit, but I don't think he said anything that wasn't true, right? No. Like, I agree with everything that he had to say, and I think he was trying to put it, in a way that didn't come off too boomer, I guess, or all these fans that are on Twitter nowadays. But
just you wait, though, Steph. We got more clips. Just you wait.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah. I told Jay and I told Rob I hadn't listened to these clips yet. I know these were from yesterday, but I haven't heard them. So let's see what he has to say about Trent.
Yeah, if Rob's got the Trent one, it's good.
Sorry, I have to pop in to play this one, but I do have it. So this is Steve Young from KMBR on Trent Williams.
The window never closes, and it's not going to close on us, but it'll narrow. It'll narrow significantly next year. So if the window's open as it's going to be for some time right now, everybody needs to be on board. And that's why Trent, I understand. You're the best tackle in the game. I get it. No one doesn't say it to you. No one doesn't appreciate it. Is this when did he get his contract? 18 months ago? When was that?
Yeah, this was like the last year of his
guarantee so like
portion.
You've set the market. I think he set the market, and I think Jed and everybody's willing to do that because he's the best tackle in the league. And then now you're going to come back and say, no, I want to set it again because there's another $8 million collectively that I can go get, and I'm on the last contract, and I'm getting old. It's like, bro,
again.
Get done here. And that, look, it doesn't mean that Jed should keep that money. Doesn't mean that, like, I get it. It's all contextual to your original question. And so I think that the noise that Trent has made, which luckily Brandon's covered him a little bit, I don't know. When you're the best in the league, you've been here for a while, you're older, you're more mature. There's a way to do this that doesn't. Now we're still here, and I don't.
Yeah.
So look, Brandon's caused his own grief in some ways. I'm sure the 49ers own their part of it, but Trent's, created some grief as well.
Ooh, that is very much old man yelling at the cloud vibes.
Yeah, like it's like he's blaming Trent for like wanting more money. I get it, but stop doing that. And why he keeps talking about setting the market too for Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk doesn't even want to reset the market. So yeah. I don't even know what that's about. Trent, I think, look, I understand it from Trent's standpoint because he is still the best left tackle tackle in general in all of football. And there weren't guarantees left on his deal. And he's much older now. So I'm sure, like, I hate putting this out into the world, but I'm sure there's been the word retirement like thrown out there. Like, if I don't get this money, like, I could just retire like that. And that's part of the leverage that Trent Williams has, aside from the fact that he's the best at his position. I think, hey, this is what agents are for, right? They tell you what your leverage is, and Trent has the leverage here to ask for what he wants at this point. We've heard the report from Jeremy Fowler yesterday that he's willing to take this into the regular season, miss games if he needs to. So in my opinion, I think Steve Young should be mad at the 49ers for not having this done yet. What is taking so long? How about that energy?
He does have it a little bit at the end as well, too, in which in the interview he says, the negotiation tactic is we're not going to give you anything more than this. And he was like, at this point, it's who's offering it. And I think that's kind of his like veiled shot at like Jed and Parag and how this is working out. My God. Hey, it doesn't stop there. I mean, Brandon Ayuk's agent's not even safe from him. And Rob, if you don't have the quote, because I wrote about it last night, it's actually a really good quote. The agent has to be able to figure out a way to bring that player to see the values other than the dollars, to see the context that there's a lot of great players out there that are playing with brutal teams that have no chance to see the full measure of who they can be as a player. And that's not you. He's basically telling him, like, money's one thing, but you as the agent, you've got to be able to go and show him it can get worse. And that's what I believe it was TJ Houshmandzadeh or somebody else that said he wants to win. Okay, so you want to win and get paid. It's really hard to do both those things, but you're in a position where you can do that. And that's what he's really talking about with the agent, saying you have to be able to show him, like, this is a better situation than you going to get $30 million and going to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, that is absolutely 100% true.
And I do have to give his agent credit for sticking to their guns this long and staying patient, because we've seen the reports that the 49ers did increase their offer. In my mind, that's like, you got what you wanted. Now what? So, like, to the point of that, of bringing him back to the table, and now you got to make a decision. It seems like it's still on Brandon Ayuk, but they're still trying to see if they could squeeze a little bit more out of the 49ers. I just don't know if that's going to happen at this point. So I think it's about that time for, like, both sides to kind of look and be like, I don't think we're willing to really negotiate any further. What's next?
And I understand the emotions from fans, right? But I want to at least try to be a calming influence here and say it's really out of our hands. There's nothing that we can do about it. And we can discuss it, that's fine, but it's really not in our hands what happens with these players. And by the way, I am not pro owner. I'm always pro player, because nobody ever says, oh, how could you cut that guy? He has a family to feed, or like he's making this amount of money. It's because when this game is done with you, they don't love you back. And it's time for you, when you have this short window of being able to play football, for you to make as much money as you can, especially because of the stress that it puts on your body. So for us, it's just like, we're frustrated with this because the 49ers want to see the 49er fans want to see them try to get back to the Super Bowl, and you can't do that without Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams. But as of right now, it's like it's out of our hands, and we just have to watch it kind of play out at this point, and we just have to react accordingly. And we'll figure out how it goes when things happen. But that's the frustrating part, is that nothing's happened, and there's no sort of updates or anything like that. It's all reworded and repurposed reports of, well, the deal's closed. Oh, well, this is, that's it. And I think, again, 49er fans are just frustrated because on the cusp of the season starting, you want to see this team just start rolling and get in there. And this isn't just some veteran player that, it's the best left tackle in football, and it's probably a top 10 wide receiver in the game that are not going to be there. So, yeah, the frustration is just that nothing's happened, but it is out of our hands, unfortunately.
Yeah, and as it pertains to like the 53 and all that, Trent Williams, since he was placed on the reserve did not report list, he still will not count towards the 53. So that's the one positive, I guess, that, the 49ers can maybe squeeze in another offensive lineman in the meantime until Trent Williams does report back and they remove him off that list.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's obviously time's ticking, man.
All right, here's an interesting angle. Let's try this one. Let's you got a tinfoil hat? Let's put it on.
Oh yeah. I got mine right next to me.
All right, perfect.
Always.
Perfect. It's big brain time here. Do you think the 49ers didn't like the way they lost the negotiation with Nick Bosa, and now they are trying to put their foot down and not allow this to be some sort of practice that will be rewarded, Steph Sanchez? But again, if I'm tripping, tell me to get out. If I'm tripping, tell me to take the hat off. But I think this is more about them winning the negotiation than it is signing someone or just getting it done. Like, they just want to look like you blinked. I didn't blink. You blinked. We didn't blink. You did.
Oh my God. Like, who cares? Who cares who blinked first at this point?
For it.
Like,
go for it.
The person who wins, like,
both
sides could still win this if they agree to get this done before the season starts. That's how you win. And yes, I was going to refer to this tweet from Tim K, because like he's saying, like, he speculated that the 49ers are kind of, doing all this to want to win the deal with Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk. For one, I mean, quite frankly, with the Brandon Ayuk thing, you've already lost, in my opinion. Like, there's no winning at this point. You just look freaking silly. You got egg on your face already. So why not make it right by getting it done? I mean, you see all these other teams signing their receivers this offseason. Even the Cowboys got it done with CeeDee Lamb, and I thought they were over here. I was making fun of them. And look at the 49ers still waiting. So yeah, this is atrocious if that's what the 49ers are looking to do. There is no winning a deal. The win is getting it done. And who are you winning for? Like, who are you winning these deals for? For
themselves,
agents, for other GMs? Yeah,
no,
it's like some game they're in by themselves. No one cares, man. No one cares that you think you won the deal. Get it done.
They're looking themselves in the mirror. You're not going to let them talk to you like that, all right? Like, and this is what, and as I'm reading this is what Tim's talking about, is the owner worship, the NFL owner worship, right? Like, they can never do anything wrong. It's always the player's fault for asking for more money. The poor rich owners, the poor billionaires, the poor owners, right? Why isn't anybody thinking about them? But it does seem like the 49ers are like, hey, man, we kind of took an L over here. We want to prove something right now, that this isn't a precedent that we're going to set with other people that are going to start asking for contracts. So, hey, look, it's an interesting conversation. Tim K, I love that he said, I've speculated. Yeah, he said, I've speculated. This isn't something that he's saying, I've heard, I know. He's speculating. That's it. That's all we're doing.
But I think his speculations might be right, because what other reason is there for it to have taken this long for both of these? I mean,
this is Parag's Super Bowl. It's
no. And it's guess what? It's overtime, man. It's overtime.
Oh, great. All right, perfect. Yeah, now I feel really great. Good God. Yeah, I guess I guess that's where we are right now with this. Again, no new updates. Today's cut down day, and Brandon Ayuk isn't going to be exempt, so he's going to have to be on the 53. And Trent is someone who's been on the do not report list, so he's not going to count at all. Danny Gray waived, not in the least bit shocking, none. So both SMU guys, Tanner Mordecai and Danny Gray, gone. I didn't have him on my 53-man roster, Steph. I don't think you did either.
No. I definitely did not. And I don't even have him making the practice squad, to be quite honest with you.
Nope.
So,
Nope. I think that's it with that. But can't wait for Danny Gray to get picked up by like some team and people be like, I can't believe you let him
the
walk
Eagles
up.
or something.
Yeah. Like, come on, please, guys. Please. Just look. Again, the 49ers have done a great job of identifying talent, and they've done it even through the 90, right? Like, there's a lot of guys on this 90-man roster that are going to get cut, that are going to be good football players. There's a lot of these guys that are on 90-man roster that just aren't going to be anything. Not going to be anything, like, anywhere. So it doesn't really matter at this point. But I guess, should we start talking about 53-man roster? And we should start with wide receiver because I think we're in agreement with the 6.
Yeah, I think so. So we've got Brandon Ayuk, we've got Debo, we've got Jawan Jennings, you got Ricky Pearsall, you got Jacob Cowan. That's already 5 dudes. And then assurance for Brandon Ayuk, you got to have Chris Conley on there as well. That's a 6.
Dang.
That's a 6.
That's your 6. I agree. You want to do the 5 running backs since we can knock that out pretty quickly?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Garendo, McCaffrey, Mason, Mitchell, Juszczyk.
Boom.
Boom. This is easy, man. We could put together a roster. This is so easy.
We could be GMs.
I mean, it's super easy. Again, like I said, if I was a GM, I would just only draft like really good players and just like win all my games and stuff. But
hey, wait. Okay, because Rob just put that little banner there. How could you disrespect Trent Taylor? I mean, okay. Do you serious question? Do you think he's a practice squad candidate? I mean, he does have the returning ability, at least emergency return man.
I don't care. Okay. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
I didn't ask you if you cared. I asked you if you think make the practice squad.
I mean, yeah,
think like Kyle Shanahan.
All right,
Put your Kyle Shanahan hat on.
All right. The idea that 31 other teams are going to see that Trent Taylor is not going to make this roster and somebody's just going to run and it is going to be like, we've got it. No. So he could make the practice squad. He could just go home and he'd just be a call away.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's fine. I'm not too worried about it. Not too worried about it. Everything's going to be fine. I want to see this one. This one's going to be good. You want to do offensive line? Because I think this one is interesting because the last spot is the one that I have a little bit of an issue with. Like, in terms of who can I pick? Right. Okay. So Colin McKivitz, Dominic Pooney, Spencer Burford, Jake Brendel, Aaron Banks, Trent Williams. He obviously won't be there unless something different happens. Jalen Moore, Nick Zakelj, and the last spot. Yeah, I think Zakelj makes it too because he's played left guard.
Yeah, I think Nick Zakelj makes it. He's not just done that. He's also, like, in camp, they also experimented with him at center as well when Brennan was hurt. So, like, that's positional value, flexibility, and versatility there. Tweet from Matt Barrows. He says, I'm hearing it's not a great day for some former SF third rounders. Jay, speculate.
Well, I think Ambry Thomas is going to be put on the pup.
Just on the pup? You don't think they'll just like injure wave him?
I think if you put him on IR or whatever, like he's done for the year, I do think that they think he's going to come back.
Yeah, but like, why would you? But if you keep him on pup, that means you want him on the team. Like I think they're done with him.
I don't know, man. That's going to be tough. I don't know. I mean, I would have said the same thing earlier. I was like, there's no way. But like, I think the injury kind of buys them a little bit of time to figure that out with him.
I think this is more Cam Latu.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to make it anyway. Yeah, I did not think. All right, so
okay, yeah, I'll talk more.
We'll go to tight end right after this.
Yeah.
So Ben Barch and Jarrett Kingston are the ones that I go back and forth with. That's the one. So I think Kingston is a 6th rounder, right? So you would think there's not a lot of people out there who would go just off of draft pedigree. But I'm going to put myself in Kyle Shanahan's shoes, and this is not something that I'm making a decision with my mind or my heart. I think Ben Barch puts Jarrett Kingston on the practice squad because Ben Barch has played football in the NFL, and like he's going to trust him over the kid that we all want to see with upside. That's not what I would do, but I think that's what Kyle Shanahan's going to do.
And Ben Barch has been throughout camp. He had been playing ahead of Jared Kingston, of course, although he was hurt for much of camp. So I don't know if that plays into their decision at all as well. But I'm with you. I mean, this kind of is like the ill Manning discussion. I'm not saying that Jarrett Kingston is going to be a nobody, right? But I think the 49ers are comfortable letting go of a 6th, 7th round UDFA guy in the hopes that he'll most likely clear waivers. Although, like for offensive linemen, because it's tough out there to find good offensive linemen. I thought Jared Kingston had a pretty solid offseason. I think for another team, it's certainly worth rolling the dice to pick him up. So it would not shock me if he did get picked up. But to your point, I do think that Ben Barch probably has the edge over Jared Kingston right now.
And I think Hubbard's going to make the practice squad, and I don't think anybody's going to really go to him, anything like that. Like, I think he'll be able to just be over there as well, too.
Yeah.
Tight end, I never had Cameron Latu making this team. Never once.
Me either.
Me either.
So, but Jay, did you see like within the last week, Matt Mayoko like 2 separate times, once like in a tweet and another on his pod was like, oh, like Cam Latu's looking way better. I think he's like giving himself a lot of favors here, possibly making this roster.
Well down the stretch.
That scared me because I'm like, man, if Mayoko's saying this, like, is he kind of echoing what the 49ers are thinking? I hope not. But yeah, I don't think Cam Latu should make this roster if you're trying to have the best 53 players on it.
I think George Kittle makes this roster. I think he's one of the guys that was on the bubble for me. Eric Sauber is your second, and I'll still go with Braden Willis because of the way that they use him. And he's had some issues blocking. I could see that, but if you notice, they keep putting him in the Kyle Juszczyk spot, and they keep wanting to groom him for that. That's far more important than whatever it is that you think. I think they really believe that he could be that guy. I would say that, and I think Logan Thomas might be a practice squad guy that they'll just have hanging around just in case if something, God forbid, happens to any of the tight ends.
What happened to Logan Thomas? Like I
don't know. Did he catch any passes? I think he was just like on the team. He's gone. He's back. He's not doing nothing. What are we doing here?
It was very weird because they had cut him. I assume that was because he wasn't looking that great. I don't know. But yeah, practice squad makes sense for Logan Thomas. Braden Willis, I'm fine with. Yes, I was seeing like they were really trying to feed him and give him those reps. Wasn't always like a perfect result, obviously, with Braden Willis, but I'm fine. Like if they believe that he can grow into that role, that's fine. I like Jake Tonges too, or Tonges.
Tonges is good too, right? Yeah,
he's good. So. Yeah. I wouldn't even be pissed if Tonjes made it over Braden Willis, but I think they probably feel that Tonjes will be there after cuts, so he could probably make it to the practice squad too.
Right, and again, this is me putting myself in their minds. Like when you see them lining up Braden Willis in that Kyle Juszczyk spot, they obviously want to groom him for that and get him rolling in that idea, because that was the speculation when he was drafted as well too. With Latu, you did a little bit at the end, but it was never enough. And I think we all kind of knew that he was on the clock once Kyle was like, no, he's not tight end 2, man. Get out of here. Like, he was so angry when he was asked that. So, like, that's when I was just like, all right, man, this guy's on the clock and he's in trouble, man. And they tried to sign every single tight end under the sun to try to fill in for, Charlie Warner and everything. That's it. It's enough. So, let's see. Specialists, Taylor Pepper, Jake Moody, Mitch Wisnowski.
Yep.
Don't care. All right. Don't care. Defensive line. This one's going to be interesting. So Leonard Floyd, Malik Collins, Hargrave Bosa, Gross Models, Jordan Elliott, and then 3 more spots. Robert Beal, I have Alex Barrett, and I think Kevin Gibbons with T.Y. McGill going to the practice squad.
Yeah, T.Y. McGill, I like to keep on the practice squad because he's been there before. So I think you could feel comfortable that you can cut him and he's not necessarily going to go anywhere. So I think that's sound. Kalia Davis obviously going to go to IR, so that opens up a spot. But in any case, they'll keep 10 guys. So I agree. I agree with that.
Okay.
I think Evan Anderson should make the practice squad too. And I do like Okoye and Barrett. Man, they're all pretty.
Barrett, I think Barrett has to make this team, I think, because he like is as a depth piece, like this is the Oh, Braden Willis and Cam Latu gone. Forget it. We're wrong already.
Whoa.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow. So
Okay. Okay.
Soibert and Logan Thomas?
Robert, I guess Logan Thomas, yeah.
Wow.
So with Braden Willis getting waived, obviously both of these guys are going to pass through waivers.
Mhm.
I'd be surprised if either of them gets picked up, to be quite honest with you. But we've seen crazier things.
Wow.
Willis, let's say he clears, you get him on the practice squad.
Yeah, I think so. I think both of them would be a welcome, addition to that. The problem that I would have is Willis is less enticing than Latu because of where he played and his skill set, and everybody's always going to think that they can unlock him. So I think someone would be down to poach Latu. I mean, not that that would make a difference for the 49ers, but I think if you're going off name value and if you're going off, what you think he can be, someone's going to jump out there and they're going to try to get Cameron Latu. So we'll see, man. I mean, unless his reputation in the NFL has just completely gone, in the shitter, like to the point where nobody wants to see him, which I doubt. I think somebody would try to take in and pick him up because they can always feel like they can unlock him.
Yeah. But with less tied to him, I think another team would be more willing to cut him if he doesn't look like a promising player.
Right.
Rather quickly.
Wow.
So
there we go. All right.
Yeah.
We can move on to corner.
Let's do it.
All right. Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Isaac Yadam, Bernardo Green, Brock Yassin, Darrell Luda Jr.
I have them taking 6. I know what was it like 5 last year that they kept. I think they squeeze in an extra one for Luder because I think we've seen glimpses of what he could be, and we've seen some good things that I'd like to keep him around.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. And I think they like Luder. Like they really want to see what he is, right? And that interception was really good, and obviously, he missed on a tackle in the Raiders game and everything. But I think they really do like him and they want to give him a shot. So that's why it's hard for me to look at, especially with Ambry Thomas not being there. Obviously, I mean, who knows if he would have been. Let's say he was healthy. I think they have a easier decision in terms of just like letting him go. Now you kind of keep Ambry Thomas and you put him on PUP and you can kind of just see what happens and it doesn't really hurt you. But yeah, I think they really like Darrell Luder and they're always going to keep their vets. Rocky Yassin's played okay. And Isaac Yadam is somebody that they really, really like. So we're going to find out real quick how this rotation is going to go. Do you want to do linebacker?
Yeah, let's do it. So obviously we have Fred Warner. Dre Greenlaw is going to be on PUP, so he will still count to the 53, right? Okay. So Devondre Campbell, D. Winters. Although D. Winters has an ankle injury and we still don't know what the diagnosis is specifically on that, just a kind of sidebar there, but I do have him making the roster, assuming all is okay there. Flanagan Fowles, and I would say Curtis Robinson.
Yep.
Because I think Curtis Robinson has done enough in the preseason to really warrant that 6th spot. And Tatum Bethune and Jalen Graham being those late round guys, I think the 49ers probably feel good enough that, they could both make it back to their practice squad.
100%. And I agree with the 5. I think the DFF thing is a special teams thing. And they like his culture fit, all of that stuff as well, too. So yeah, it's going to be those 5, in my opinion, as well, too. No notes, Steph. That's a good one. You nailed that one. What about safety? Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa, George Odom. Who's your 4th safety? And Hufanga is going to be on PUP.
Yeah. Yeah, but so Hufanga being on PUP, he counts towards the 53, right? So
it depends. If they do Greenlaw and Feliciano, to return.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
So that's what that's the hard part. So
yeah, I mean, if they keep those 4 guys, I'm good with those 4. If Hufanga gets placed on PUP, then I would do Jalen Mahoney over Tracy Walker personally.
I would do Tracy Walker actually. But I had a tough time with going back and forth with that. But something that's kind of interesting is they can keep Hufanga on the 53 and just deactivate him on game day. Right? For the first 4 weeks if they feel good or whatever he's progressing and probably use that spot for someone else. right? Like that they want to keep around. Like, so they're going to have to do some maneuvering when it comes to that. I don't think there's any doubt that Hufanga is going to be on this roster one way or another, but they might have to do some sneaky stuff where they just have him on the roster. He's going to be injured. He's not going to practice. He's hurt. And then, you bring him up on game day. But I think I got Tracy Walker actually making the team, but it could have been either of them because Mahoney's played well enough where you can even make that argument.
Yeah, I thought so. He looked good in camp as well. I saw like the last game, or no, it was the second preseason game. I thought Tracy Walker made a lot of negative plays, but who knows?
Okay. I think we did it. I think we did it. We did it. You're welcome, guys. We got the tight end one wrong.
Quite honestly, I think what we went through is probably pretty freaking close to the 53.
Yeah, I was just a little shocked with the Braden Willis thing, but I guess the Logan Thomas signing should have been right up the alley. It's just you haven't seen Logan Thomas at all, at all, like no snaps, no training camp, and then But hey, they've got a method to their madness. But I think you have your 6 receivers. I think that's a lock. You have your 5 running backs. That's a lock. You have your 3 specialists, and then everything kind of gets interesting in what they value. In terms of the defensive line. Do you need more edge depth? Do you need more interior guys? What do you think that you can get from Gross Models? Can he fill in that gap with the interior guys rushing from in there? And then you get more edge guys. That's the part that we really don't know in our heads. But I do think we've gotten pretty close. I think we're fine.
Can I ask you a question, Jay?
No. Yes.
So, okay, first, I was just going to say the Bills have waived Frank Gore Jr., so that would make sense. So now, obviously, 49ers aren't the only team cutting player. That's a great one. We always love
anytime there's a player out there,
180-degree pano. But, yeah, with all these players, getting waived and all this stuff, if you're the 49ers, and I know you said you've watched a lot of the preseason games, not just the 49ers, but of other teams as well. Was there anyone that flashed that you think maybe has a chance of not making a roster that the 49ers should maybe keep an eye on?
Well, Noah Brown is somebody that was just let go. And I think, he had a really good stretch of play with the Texans. It's, do you value Chris Conley on special teams and just his veteran ability, or do you take a shot on somebody like, Noah Brown? I think that's somebody that's out there, as well, too. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Carl Lawson is somebody that he's just a veteran guy that he's out there now that he's waived as well, too. If you're looking for veteran depth on the defensive line, Carl Lawson can't hurt. Like, it's just, and if you have this track record of being like, hey, we're going to give him to Kasurik, we're going to turn him up and we're going to fix him, then why wouldn't you take a shot on something like that? So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. And by the way, Frank Gore flashed in the Bills game, the last Bills game. He was very good in that game as well too. So and I wanted to ask you this. Cody Schrader was drafted in the CFL draft as well too, right? Like there's a CFL team that there's a CFL team that has his draft rights. I don't know what that means in terms of like, can you overlap it with like CFL or NFL? But yeah, Cody Schrader is going to be a person that they may try to sneak on the practice squad, or he just might go. He might go put up some tape for a team in the CFL and try to come back next year with it.
Well, the CFL plays after the NFL season, right? So potentially he could do both, right? Like depending on when you have to report for the CFL, like I can see that happening.
Daza with the super chat, are there any decent offensive tackles who have been waive released that we could potentially pick up? It's UFL. I'm sorry. Thank you, Leon Sandcastle. I don't think that's really. See, this is the hard part. Decent offensive tackles very rarely get waived and released because of how hard it is to find offensive.
I think McKibbitz is a starter, people.
Oh my God, Cole McKibbitz didn't do nothing but wake up. He woke up a Christian and he's getting shots fired at him like for no reason. He didn't even do nothing. That's the hard part, right? Like unless you have like a reclamation project or you have somebody that you think, hey, maybe we can kind of fix them. It's gonna be tough, to look at a guy that's been cut because for the most part, and I hate to say it this way because they're still NFL players and they're still, great at this game that's so hard and it's so hard. There's so much competition and you hate to see guys lose jobs. There's probably a reason that they're, let go. And if they're let go in this league that every single team is like grasping onto as much offensive line play as you can get because of how hard it is to identify and have guys that are steady. I'm just not sure. Like, I don't think that there's anybody that jumps out at you right away where you're like, yep. I'm like, well, you got to get a shot on that. because then you got to start asking the question, well, why are they available?
Right. I haven't seen too many anyway, to be honest with you. But it wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers obviously did try to look around with just some of the injuries they've had throughout the offseason. It seems like most of those guys are you know, starting to get healthy on the offensive line, but I
Mhm.
could definitely see on the defensive line them bringing in some guys on the practice squad to maybe shore that up a little bit, because Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos have the knee sprain, but it seems like Gross-Matos, he's week to week, so his was probably a little bit more severe than Leonard Floyd's. So it wouldn't surprise me if they brought in maybe another edge guy to the practice squad. We already talked about some of the guys that they can potentially bring, but guys from other teams that are getting cut as well could be options too. And like I said, Clea Davis also going on IR. So if they want to shore up some of that defensive tackle depth, they could do that too.
I think there is. I'm trying to look for the young man's name. He was drafted by the New Orleans Saints, and they let him go. And he's an edge guy who kind of has a little bit of traits, but he hasn't really produced. I have to find his name. This is what I'm trying to do right now. And this is good podcasting, like me just trying to find his name. But I think that's somebody that they could look at as like a practice squad guy or take a shot on in terms of defensive line, But again, what do you value? Do you value offensive line? Do you value like those type of guys or defensive line? Like it's gonna be, you know what? I'll look it up and I'll find it another time. But there's definitely gonna be guys, like I said, Carl Lawson, guys like that the 49ers will probably just bring in to kind of just have there as veterans and guys who they feel like they can get, a little bit more out of. And I think that the 49ers defensive line, this is as paper thin as they've been since 2018, 2017, like those times, and I think this is the part right now that they don't feel the best about, but you have to just keep taking swings on guys, and you got to hope that Yetur Gross-Matos, is what you think he can be, like Omenihu, that type of signing, because that would save a lot. But the issue isn't the starters, as we've said, with this roster. It's not the starters. It's, God forbid, if one of the starters goes down, then your depth starts to look a lot more worse this season. There's something about this season now. And then compounding the problem is, Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk kind of just hanging out in the background. But the depth is what's scary about this roster, not necessarily, obviously, the starters who we know are all pretty much good.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that, because as soon as you see like most, if not all, the starters like not there in the preseason games, like there wasn't too much happening there. So yeah, they definitely got to shore some of that up. But yeah, we'll have definitely some more updates like throughout this day about who's making it and who's not. And then tomorrow is when we find out more so who's making the practice squad. So but Jay, did you see those comments from Manti Te'o yesterday about the 49ers?
Oh my God, we'll do that in a minute. My God, I have one more name. To throw out. The Commanders waived KJ Henry. He's a defensive end.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
2023 5th round pick, and he's going to be on waivers. I think that's somebody the 49ers should absolutely kick the tires on and take a look at. That's somebody who you can, again, skill set didn't pan out right there. Boom. Do you have enough to turn him around? KJ Henry's definitely somebody I think the 49ers would look at and say, let's give him a shot. Let's see what we can do with him. But all right, whatever. Manti Te'o. Okay. I want to preface this part of it by, after I saw the Manti Te'o documentary, I really felt bad for him after, right? Of course, everyone's like, how could you, be catfish? Okay, fine. It's not that. It's more like the guy, like seeing like the beating that he would take on social media all the time and how everybody just made him the butt of the joke. Like it was really affecting him. So I just want to make sure I say that before I say this. Manti Te'o, you saying that the Minneapolis Miracle and the non-call PI thing is close to like what the 49ers have been doing in terms of going to the Super Bowl and going to the NFC Championship. I don't think it's the same thing. The 49ers have been perennial since like 2019. It's been like one season that they haven't, really like made a run. 2020 was like that death year. But it turned from whatever it is that you disagree that he said to oh, let's make catfish jokes about him. You know, like you can disagree with what he said, but let's just like, why are we going to the low hanging fruit here? So I'm interested to get your thoughts on this, just because it didn't really bother me what he said. Like I think I'm at a point now where like when people say things that I don't agree with, it doesn't like send me into a tizzy. Like I'm just like, whatever. If Manti Te'o feels like that, that's his business. You know, like that's fine. But a lot of people didn't like what he had to say, and they were like going crazy on him. You know, telling him about his catfish situation, all that stuff.
If there's any like low hanging fruit
That's the catfish
or
thing.
anything that makes you like an easy punching bag, and you say anything that someone disagrees with, every single time, like people will turn to that to personally attack you. And yeah, I'm not gonna go that far. I don't agree with what he said. Like, and I just don't think that using preseason games as a way to measure your perception of a team and being emotionally drained is accurate, nor should it be, like, ever. So they could be emotionally drained, but it's not because of 2 preseason games you watched. Like, that's a bunch of other things going on, but it's not because of preseason. And I didn't even think the 49ers looked that bad in the preseason. Only like the first preseason game looked, you know, kind of bad with the missing tackles and stuff like that. But it's a bunch of guys who aren't going to make the roster or aren't going to be playing that many snaps. So that's why we don't use preseason to judge a team like that. We're judging individual players and individual player performances. But yeah, I don't agree with what he said, but I also don't agree with people like, you know, coming at him sideways like that.
Like Diamador Lenore.
I did retweet this. I mean, because Lenore, he's on the team though, so I mean that's different. Like I think for him, like that's personal because like he's on the team. You're talking about the team he's on, so obviously
bro is on the
Lenore
team.
disagrees with it.
Bro is on the team. Actually, you know what? Diamador Lenore is #1 shit talker on this team.
He is like lightweight, right? Like low key.
Yeah, like who else would it be? I think Demo's the one that's like out there chirping the best too. Like it's not who's chirping the loudest, it's who's got the better quips, who's faster with it. Right, like it doesn't have to be this long-winded response. You hit somebody with 4 or 5 words and you cut them all up. Lenore's cooking, man. He's the guy that's the #1 shit talker, in my opinion, on this team. I think
it's either that or Debo. Like Debo is pretty freaking good.
Debo be popping it too. Yeah, Debo be popping it. Yeah, definitely.
He can back it up. I mean, they both can back it up.
Yeah, but I think after Demo knocked the Sonic coins out of DeAndre Swift, like he's just been on some absolute like next level. Like, yeah, I'm that guy. Like I'm walking around talking, you know. So like, I like it, man. I like it. Demo making a case for why the 49ers should sign him off the field. Also, you know, with the way that he's been trash talking. That's a good quick answer. Computer love is crazy. I was just like, like you know, we said it's low hanging fruit. But damn, that's still really good. And it just like, you know, it's just like
got there. I could laugh at the jokes. I'm just not gonna say them.
Right. Hey man, Lenore's moving up the rankings, man. I think we need to adjust the rankings when it comes to the trash talking thing. Like we're talking about 53-man roster. Should we be talking about the better trash talkers, the better dressed guys? Like we need to start like changing up like what we're going with. But yeah. So right now the cuts are coming in. We're gonna know in a little bit. Do Kyle and John speak today or tomorrow, Steph?
John Lynch speaks tomorrow, and you know what we're gonna get? Bunch of nothing.
Nothing burgers and word salads for everybody. Oh, baby, I can't wait. I hope you're hungry because you're gonna get a whole bunch of nothing. But
it's like that one gif where like they're bringing out the platter and he opens and it's like
nothing. Exactly. What's Kyle John gonna say? And he's like nothing, and he just lifts up the thing or whatever. But yeah. And it's like also too, it's like the Nick Saban clip. You know, can you give us any updates on Brandon Ayuk? I'm not going to, so quit asking, man. Like, you know, like that angry type stuff. But again, there is a conversation that needs to be had about the 53-man roster, what they plan to do, you know, what's the thought process on some of these guys and everything as well, too. So that's why Kyle's going to speak. Can't wait for that. So, yeah, I mean, the DC dip and twirl. It's perfect. I think we're not really going to get anything anything too quickly or too detailed at all.
And Rob, if you want to put that GIF up, I literally just send it to you on Twitter because I hope you're
What
hungry.
the guy lifted?
For
Hope you're hungry for nothing. Oh my god.
We sense the urgency to have Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk back with the team. We've been saying that for 2 months.
I hope you're hungry for nothing.
The gas always gets me. Oh, God. This feels like a good spot to call it.
And before we say that, you know what's funny is Kyle and John know the tension or the anxiousness in the fan base right now. And they're still,
I think they're feeling it too.
I mean, they are, but they're also just like, it doesn't matter. We're still not going to cave. We're still just going to, and I think there's a little small part of Kyle that's just like, hey, I want to keep them in suspense, and I want to keep them, going through it a little bit more too. I think he low key enjoys it.
Oh yeah. He's a sicko that way.
All right, guys, that'll do it, guys. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Check out the 53-man roster. Should drop in another hour, right? That's when it has to be finalized. So
the 49ers notorious for
they'll be there at like 7 p.m.
Way after. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they have to submit it, but then they announce it whenever they feel like announcing it. But hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network, wherever you get your audio podcast. Make sure you follow Steph on Twitter at Steph49K. Follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. And as usual, guys, go Niners. Peace.
Peace.